And every time I tried to organize that and get it together, there always seemed to be a conflict. Either people wouldn't call me back or they weren't able to make it because there was some sort of conflict to a planning meeting. So it got me to thinking that basically, you know what, if this is something that I want to do, and it was, that I basically need to go off and do this and plan it and execute it on my own. So I decided to do just that. I planned a multi-day, basically backpacking trip for myself, and my two sons decided to come with me. Didn't come out as planned. We did actually go on the trip. However, we only made it about, I believe, 20 something miles in about 2 days when my sons basically no longer wished to continue. And I was understanding about that. They're young. They were young teenagers at the point. And this really wasn't their dream. This wasn't their idea. You know, I always say some people's idea of hiking, what they think hiking will be like in backpacking, is not what the reality is. You know, maybe they watched a movie or they're very idyllic. They don't realize all the other stuff that goes along with it. So I was understanding about that. We came home earlier than expected, but I learned a lot from that trip. As is a common thread among hikers and campers and everything, I plan to go back again on another trip. I actually did the same trip, only with one son this time, about 2-3 years later. Had new equipment, so I spent some money buying better equipment. I was definitely prepared for it better. And unfortunately, that trip went off well, but once again, didn't stay as long as we thought. I ended up coming home early with that trip. My son just didn't want to continue. We did 4 days and 42 miles on that trip, but we came home early. And on the drive home, which was several hours long, I had a lot of time to think about it. And that's when I evolved even more into hiking. And I said, you know what, this is something I really feel that I want to do. And I basically feel that if I'm going to do it, and it's got to be my trip, and my trip means me going alone, all on my own. And that evolved to going solo, basically, because, you know, I know people go hiking for several days. I check now, I look at blogs and hiking logs and journal entries and everything, and I know there's people that are doing this, but I just don't know any of those people. None of them are my friends. None of them were were in scouting with me or involved with me. So I just basically decided, you know what, I'm going to go solo. So at that point, I basically decided that I need to do this all on my own. So it's my hike. If I do it with someone else, it's not my hike, it's our hike. And I wanted it to be my hike. So I decided to plan a trip that was several days, multi-day, overnight, solo backpacking trip. You know, my wife is very supportive, and honestly, without her support, her confidence, and really encouraging me to do this, I probably would not have done it. As a matter of fact, even making these videos and starting up this, hiking and backpacking thing is all really due to her support and confidence and her belief in my ability to be able to do that and do it safely. So with that, I planned the trip. I planned it for 9 months out. That gave me plenty of time to do all the planning. I did all the research. I got the maps. I decided where I was going to go. I scheduled everything that needed to be scheduled. I'm going to cover that in another video, so I don't want to go too much into it. But basically, I had planned it out. And when the 9 months came, you know, after I had planned and packed, I drove up there. I stepped out on the trail. My person that dropped me off, my driver, drove away, and I looked around, and I was all alone. And it was really weird. I had never really been out in the woods alone like that, knowing I was out there for several days alone. You know, I've gone on a backpacking, like hiking trip, just for the day, a day trip, and I've been out in the woods alone. But that was, wow, I'm alone for the next probably 5 to 6 days. And I had all my gear on my back, and I was ready to go. So I looked around, and I was pretty happy. And I started walking. You know, I had planned the hike, so now I hiked my plan, as I like to say. And I walked. And part of the reason that I bring that up is because I'm hoping that through my videos and my sharing with my experiences and discussing things to do, that some other people will want to get off this chair or their couch and go out in the woods, go for a hike, whether it's a half hour, an hour, several days, several miles, whatever it may be. But I'm hoping that that would inspire them to go out and do this activity as well. And that if that's the case, then that'll be really rewarding. You know, that'll be me giving back to both hiking and the trail. So that's pretty much my why of doing that. You know, I also feel hiking is an equalizer. It's for everyone. It's for all of us. It doesn't matter, you know, where you're from. It doesn't matter what sex you are, whether you're a Democrat, Republican. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. It's out there for all of us. Black, white. It's for everyone. It doesn't matter your religion. It's the same. You know, we all have to walk up that hill the same. So there's a lot of camaraderie among campers because we've done the same trail, the same trip, and they're all rooting for you to do it. You know, I've never walked. I've seen hikers help each other. You know, total strangers that never met. They just see each other, and instantly there's that bond because we've done the same miles and the same trip. So I'm hoping other people will come out there and experience that, and people will realize that, you know, we live in a great country where we have this opportunity to go out in the woods and get away from the cities where most of us seem to live now and experience stuff that we don't normally get to experience. And that we have the ability to enjoy these places that have been set aside for us because people in the past have realized the importance of preserving these places. And I think that's such a blessing that we have, and that we're so fortunate to have this in this country. These places are national treasures, and I'm hoping that more and more people will use them and want to protect them. You know, when I was on my last hike, an example I was hiking, and I had gone several miles that day. I stopped to eat, and these two ladies in their mid-70s come out from the woods behind me. After about 5 minutes, I had been stopped. And we say hello. Like I said, hikers are friendly. And they said, "Oh, we've been following your footprints on the trail all morning. It's nice to finally meet you." And we talked a little bit more, and they continued on. These ladies were walking with nothing more than a little day pack, and as they constantly told me, just a bottle of water and some peanut butter crackers. But they're in their mid-70s. I started walking again about less than 10 minutes later. It took me over an hour to catch up and pass them. Up and down hills and mountains. These ladies were incredible. They just didn't stop. I told them they were like machines. For 60 minutes that it took me to catch them, they didn't stop. I had to stop several times going up to catch my breath. These ladies live up in the Carolinas near the Smokies, they said, and they hike frequently on steeper trails than this one. So it wasn't that steep to them, but for me it was pretty steep. I'm also 25 years younger than them. And yes, I was carrying a pack, and yes, I had walked a little bit longer than them that day, but still, it's impressive. These people are motivating. They're inspirational. I'm hoping that when I'm 75, I'm hiking like those two ladies. You know, they were moving. So that's the goal. You know, everybody gets something else out of hiking. You know, I'm not very religious. I don't know the different trees, the birds, the flowers, the different species of everything. But you know what? I know I like being out in the woods, and I like hiking. And when you're on top of a mountain, you're looking out over a valley or just over a mountain range. It is inspirational. It's awe-inspiring, and it is spiritual of some way. And everybody gets to do that in their own way and assign their own value to it. So I'm hoping that you'll come out in the woods. You'll find your why, and you'll come out there, and you'll enjoy them just like I do and other people do. And through that, there'll be greater awareness and understanding and a push for protection and to continue these areas and protect these trails. And by my last example that I just illustrated, those two ladies that I saw that were 75 hiking were the only two people I saw that entire day while hiking. And I did close to 20 miles that day along this trail. And they were the only people that I met. So there's room out there for all of us. I don't want to see the trails overcrowded, but that trail, there's room for everybody. So I'm hoping that you'll find your why and come join me on my journey as well. So if you like this, please subscribe, leave a comment below, tell me what your why for hiking is. What makes you want to go out in the woods for several days or several hours or several miles even and do a hike? Thank you again. Till we meet again.